So welcome to Codisa Fashion Week. Thank you all for coming to our Women in Business panel. Before beginning, I would like to just go over a few reminders. So just let me know if you can see my screen, and that'd be great. All right, thank you. So just a few reminders. If you have any questions throughout the session, feel free to ask a member of Codista who will have this background behind me. And you can just ask them through the chat. And during the session, we would really appreciate it if you could keep your mic muted unless you were asking a question during the Q&A, because we would like to use most of our time and focus towards the session, as well as be respectful to the speakers and attendees. And if you haven't already, you should check us out on Instagram at Codista, where we will be showing highlights of the session and event. One moment. So we will go ahead and introduce our speakers for today's session. Today we have Miriam Janke, who is an impact entrepreneur, founder, and speaker. Last year, she was nominated as the top 2 of 15,000 applicants for Miss Germany Berlin. Additionally, she is How NASA Builds Teams 4D Consultant, which is the strongest and fastest team performance system around the world, taught by the former head of NASA's Hubble telescope, Dr. Charles Pellerin. Our next panelist is Samantha Zink, who is the founder and CEO of Zink Talents, a boutique influencer management agency that's been on the rise since its launch in 2018. Samantha is known for not adhering to industry standards, staying ahead of the curve, and founding a word-of-mouth agency known for its commitment to its top-tier clientele. And finally, we have Bre Cruickshank, who is the CEO and founder of Radical Girl Gang, the online marketplace to shop emerging women-owned brands. She's passionate about breaking down barriers for women entrepreneurs and building systems designed by women for women. Her background at Nike and Outdoor Voices has given her a keen awareness of how brands can be leveraged to ignite change. Her own business is rooted in feminist principles and designed to disrupt power dynamics at scale. And you can usually find her forgetting to drink enough water, going to therapy, or smashing the patriarchy. Thank you all so much for coming, and we will go ahead and get started. All right, so just to start off, though we've introduced you all, I think I just lost my Zoom. All right, so though we've introduced you all, we would really appreciate it if you could talk a bit more about yourself, your businesses, and any major interests you have. And one of you can just go ahead and pop in.
I'll go ahead and get started. Suhani, you did such a great job with my intro. But yeah, I just want to reiterate, I'm so excited to be with all of y'all today. I want this to be a super safe space where you guys feel like you can ask any and all questions. My journey as an entrepreneur and as the CEO of a startup is an open book for all of y'all. So I'm super excited to share more. And yeah, I'm the founder of Radical Girl Gang. We are a really exciting online marketplace. So if you haven't checked us out, definitely do. And what we do is we support emerging women-owned brands on our platform. And really, we are leading a movement to shop women-owned. So for the brands we support, we help them gain exposure. And for customers like all of us, we make it really easy to shop women-owned and ultimately put more money into the pockets of women entrepreneurs.
Should I go next? Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
So yeah, first of all, thank you, Suhani, for the nice introduction of me. So you were noting down wonderful points, and I'm really excited to be here today. Yeah, my name is Miriam. I'm living in Berlin, Germany, and I'm co-founder of Navato, which is a nanotechnology company. So it's really tech and impact focus, and we do material treatments. So we were developing a new process over 10 years, and we fight a little bit against free nanoparticles, which are really harmful for the environment and also for us humans. Then additionally, I have kind of two other companies where I'm a shareholder in, which are located in Denmark. So one of the businesses are medical cannabis, and the other one is something with tires. But these businesses are just starting out, so it's pretty excited. And I actually really into two topics. The first one is to maybe notice impact, to fight against social, cultural problems, economical and environmental problems. And the other one is female empowerment, because I just want that more females, more girls, women go into female entrepreneurship, take leadership positions, and go into politics. So this is actually defining me, and I think I'm handing over to Samantha. Yes, there you are.
I'm so excited to be here. I am the CEO and founder of Zink Talent, an influencer management agency. It's such a new space, so a lot of people aren't really familiar with what we do. We manage influencers as agents. So everything that you see on Instagram, when influencers are working with brands, there's so much behind the scenes that goes into all of those partnerships. And I manage, myself and my team, we manage all of those partnerships, collaborations, and we see the vision come to life. So when I'm not, working with my influencers and my team, I'm really interested in the wellness space, fitness, trading, investing, and hanging out with my top riders. So thank you again for having me.
Wow, those were excellent answers. I am Elena Randolph, and I'm also going to be helping with the questions. And so the next question we have for you all is, where did you start with, excuse me, where did you start with your career interests, and what is your background or expertise?
Should I go? Do you? Okay. So I actually started out in university. To say I'm still in university. I'm taking evening classes to get my bachelor. So it's pretty tough, but I just love that. And in the daytime and weekend, I'm just working, kind of a workaholic, but I just love that. So I have a business background. So I'm studying international business administration. And I just from a child, I was just into technology and innovations. And I mean, in Germany and in Europe, it's everyone is just now going on the wave of green technologies and innovations and fighting against carbon dioxide, which is really, really important. And we really have to do that for our next generation and for our generation. And yeah, so I just dive deep in, because I was also in the STEM class in high school. So I slightly went into this tech field.
Awesome. I can go next. Okay, so am I up next? Good. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm really excited for y'all, because I feel like at this stage in your life, there's so many different things that you're going to explore and learn about. That was definitely my journey. My whole life, I've been obsessed with consumer behavior and branding and products, but I've definitely had not meandering career, but we kind of envision our careers like straight lines, and that's not very often how it pans out. It usually goes like this, like a squiggly line. So for me, I went to the University of Oregon a long time ago. And after that, I started working at Nike World Headquarters, and I was there for about 3 years. And I want to let all of y'all know, this is a really important part of my story, that I didn't apply once and get into Nike. I applied more than 10 times to get my job there at the beginning of my career. So just a note to say, as I go through my journey, there's a lot of exciting parts, but I want you to know that the backstory is that it's been a hustle to do it. and y'all are going to be able to achieve anything that you set your minds to in the same way. So yeah, I was at Nike for about 3 years. I was an analyst, and then I worked in product line merchandising, which basically means that I worked on different parts of the business like men's sportswear and Nike Lab, and I helped build those businesses, work with the designers, and create product assortments and t-shirts and clothing that would ultimately help grow the business. So I was there for a couple years. It was awesome. But for me, you know, I didn't really realize that I was an entrepreneur when I was a young girl. And that's really inspired a lot of what I've built with Radical Girl Gang, and why I like to do things like this and talk to young women about this path, because it just wasn't something that I saw in mainstream culture. No one talked to me about it. I was totally that young girl who had all of those traits of, you know, being an entrepreneur and a founder, but instead was kind of labeled bossy. And so I really had to unlearn a lot of that in my career and as I set out to build my business. So anyway, I ended up pivoting to startups. That's why I moved to Austin, Texas, which is where I'm located now. I was with Outdoor Voices for about 2 years, and I led their digital merchandising team, which at that time I also pivoted over to e-commerce. Side note, I'm sure all of y'all are very passionate about e-commerce and shopping online. So yeah, I was there for like 2 years, and during that time started thinking about my vision as a founder. You know, I'd spent my whole career up until that point building things that were other people's vision. And at the end of the day, I just wasn't satisfied. And I know some of you guys in the audience will understand that feeling. And so I just started dipping my toe in the water and thinking about, what do I want to build? So while I was working full time, I launched Radical Girl Gang as a side hustle, and started it as an indie clothing brand at the time. It was a very small batch clothing brand. One of my first designs was the CEO t-shirt, which was inspired by the female leadership gap. I started growing the brand. It took off. Ultimately, I ended up leaving my job at Outdoor Voices to set out on this new venture. Spent that year working on expanding my vision for the business, because what I also want to say to all of y'all is, for me, when I started out, I was dreaming at like a fraction of what my potential was. And so what I want to say to all of you is, dream bigger. Take your dream and multiply that dream by 10. Dream so big that it scares you, because that's your true potential. So anyway, I started doing that. I ended up pivoting Radical Girl Gang to create an online marketplace to address some of the really big challenges that women entrepreneurs are facing, and to ultimately advance gender equity through e-commerce. That's kind of in a nutshell, but that is my background, and that's how I ended up here.
And so I was in fashion and beauty PR for 7 years. Right out of college, my internship hired me, and I moved to New York City, and it was the most exciting time of my life. But when I was in college, you know, talking about being an entrepreneur was not a thing, let alone being a female founder. So I didn't even like know it was an option. I was like, okay, I'm going to graduate, and then just go to a 9 to 5 and, you know, work my way up. And, you know, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the hills and Laguna Beach and the city, but they glamorized fashion PR. So I was like, okay, I'm going to move to the city and have this glamorous life. And unfortunately, that was not the case. I was overworked and underpaid, and I was always ahead of the curve, but nobody respected me and my ideas. And I had a bigger vision than what I was able to do. You know, I had so many superiors. No one listened to me. Influencers were rising, media was dying, and I kept telling the agency, I said, we need to work with influencers. But they were so traditional, they wanted to be in Elle magazine. You know, all of our brands that we represented wanted to be in magazines. And I said, nobody is reading magazines except maybe moms at, you know, at the airport. So yeah, no one listened to me. But I started working with influencers on the brand side, being in PR. And I remember, you know, I worked with celebrities. I did Fashion Week. It was kind of fun, but, you know, overall, I was just so miserable living paycheck to paycheck. And I was on the subway in New York City one Fashion Week, and I call it an epiphany. I was like, I need to manage influencers. You know, we're paying them $3,000 for a post or $5,000 or $10,000. This is crazy because I have the same small paycheck and these girls are posting on Instagram. I was like, I need to take them out for coffee and just kind of ask them if I can manage them, see what they think. So I took my connections, my influencer connections out for coffees on my lunch break while I was in PR. And I said, we were friends at that point because they had attended my events and I had worked with them. And I said, let me manage you. Let's see what happens. You don't have a manager. We don't have to be exclusive, but I have all of these qualities and qualifications and tools from being in PR that I think we could do something amazing. They said, like, I didn't even have to pitch myself. They're like, okay, let's do it. They had 1 million followers. I'm like, this is crazy. So I started it as a side hustle. And I remember like when my superior, when they weren't looking at me at work, I was like building my business. But overall, I basically flipped my PR expertise and then just went on the influencer side. So it was really exciting because I was always at traditional agencies and I said, you know what, I'm gonna change it up. I'm gonna do something different. I want a modern agency where people aren't working to live and they have, financial freedom and they're overall just happy. And there's money to be made. I don't want to be living. I remember my last raise, they gave me like, I was with the company and I wore many hats. They're like, oh, your raise is $600. I was like, what? I was like, can I just have that as a bonus for like, it just, they didn't respect me. And I knew that I had to do things different. So that's my story.
Okay, so we have a question in the chat that I'm going to ask real quick. Kara said, how can I get involved with your brand to do a collaboration?
Oh, so whose brand? Is this for? Is this for me?
I believe so. I think it popped up while you were talking. I'm not sure.
Oh, sorry, I'm new to the whole Zoom space. So we manage influencers. If you are an influencer and you're looking to be represented or you want to intern or, just pick my brain about anything, you can DM me on Instagram, which is just my full name.
And if there's anything else for Radical Girl Gang or Novato, you all can pop in as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, please follow us. We are super fun to follow. We're on Instagram at Radical Girl Gang. And if any of you guys want to reach out to me personally, you can reach me at hello@radicalgirlgang.com. And then our website is radicalgirlgang.com.
And I mean, like, you can get in touch with me on LinkedIn or Instagram. I mean, we're not doing like kind of collaboration because it's like B2B, but really techy. But if you're looking like for an internship or something, reach out to me like all the time.
And at the end of the weekend, we will send out an email with everyone's contact information and more about their work, so you can go learn more about that.
Okay, so I have another question, and it's basically, since most of us are still in school or we're about to go off to college, we're still exploring our different interests and whatnot. So could you give us some insight on being a student and any advice you have for that?
I can kick this one off. I think my advice is follow your passion. A lot of people look at what I majored in college and they're like, there's no connection to what you do now. And I'm like, there totally is. I was following my passion and ultimately it is part of my story and my journey. I majored in international studies with a concentration in human rights. And I mean, I did that because I was really following what made me excited and what made me feel, what made me feel passionate. And so that's my advice to y'all, just to stay open-minded and be okay with changing things and being interested in one thing and then getting interested in something else. There's no right way to do it. Again, it's not a straight line. It's going to be a squiggly line. But as long as you're staying open and following what really feels like your calling and that you're really interested and invested in, it will be really great.
I can go. So my advice to all of you guys, and I wish I did this when I was in school. I wish that I did a lot more or took on a lot more internships in different spaces instead of just focusing on my major, because you don't really know what the work is like until you get out into the real world, and you are doing it. Like of course your studies are the groundwork and they give you like a little bit of insight, but you don't know what you're getting into until you start that job. And a lot of people don't end up pursuing the job that's connected to their major. So I wish that I had just like stuck my toes in like a few different spaces and not just PR, maybe more so on the marketing or interior designing, or what I mean, just to see what else was out there. And then I could ultimately make my decision upon graduating. And also, a lot of people get their first job through their internships, and to like intern while you're in school as much as possible and make those connections.
And the best way, I just want to give an addition to that, best way is like to get an internship or like a working student job in a startup, because you just like in a startup, you're an all-rounder, you learn like different skills and you like see different departments, because like it's so small, right? So you take like in a young age, you take responsibility. And also what we said was really important, like just do what you love, right? Because like my parents actually wanted that I'm studying medicine. And I just remember when I was in the first my dad was like calling me just like don't do that, like what are you doing with business, like because in Germany or like the village where I'm from, like everyone who don't know what he or she wants to study is studying business. So he was like, oh, go study, do something real, study medicine, right? So like first, like it was really, really tough for me, but as they saw results and if they, and I took them into my world and they saw what I'm doing, they supported me. And I think this is also really important if your family is standing behind you, if you have a strong network. And also another point is when you are in university, like network with people, like ask on LinkedIn if they can meet you for a coffee or so on. Just like build your network like from a very young age, and also like try something out. You can, like as me, you can also start like a startup, found a startup in your university times to get experiences, to start building a network, to get like your first customers, to live also from this side hustle, as I did when I had a full-time study. Now I'm on a part-time because I couldn't handle it, like because it was just too much. But yeah, just like take a major or like go to university, but it will not define your future, what you do at the end. Yeah, and always think positive, because like as Bre said, it's like sometimes like this, but when you think always positive, you can go like from your emotion always to the top.
Yeah, I think those were some great responses. I know that it seems like, at least for me, business has always not been a single subject, but a combination of subjects. And I think we can see that with your work. We have healthcare, we have fashion, and social media influencing. So it's really just a culmination of interests. And I think that's what makes business most interesting. So our next question is that there is always a lot that goes behind the scenes of running a business, and it doesn't get easy sometimes. So what were some of the challenges you faced through this process, and how did you grow from it?
I mean, I can kick it off. Listen, there's a lot of challenges with entrepreneurship, but it's you go into it knowing that there's going to be a lot of challenges. It's that I think founders and entrepreneurs are trying to build something new and pursue a path that's really meaningful, and that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy all of the time. But I'll share just some of some of the obstacles that I've faced, which I guess I would see as more opportunities than obstacles. But yeah, I mean, the way that I have started my business, we have bootstrapped it 100%. We're now in the middle of what is called our pre-seed round of funding. And so we're actually working on financing the business for the next 18 months now. and raising capital for investors. But I will say that there's a lot of challenges that come with women in entrepreneurship, because unfortunately, the landscape between men and women in business is still very unequal. And that's what we're fighting against. And that's why it's so important that we have these conversations and work together as women and men together. But yeah, so venture capital funding is what funds a lot of the biggest and most powerful companies in the world. And in the last year, only 2.7% of all of that money went towards women-owned businesses. 2.7% of all of it. And then when you look at that broken down by, it's even worse. So this is really important for us to start to create new systems that can address some of these problems. And ultimately, that's what we're doing with RGG. But at the same time, it's been interesting going through this myself firsthand as a woman entrepreneur. Raising capital, especially at the early stages, is a really, really big obstacle. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. It just means that you know it's going to be a little bit tougher, because the systems that we have in place have traditionally benefited white men more than the rest of us. That's just the fact. So that is why I think it's so important that we do work to really unlock the potential of women entrepreneurs and really, really invest in them. Because ultimately, I mean, we're talking about solving some of the world's biggest problems and innovating for the future. And it's really important that we're at the table. So yeah, that's a little bit on like obstacles around women in entrepreneurship. I could talk about it all day, but I will leave y'all with that.
So I can go. In the beginning stages, I'm self-funded. So I didn't end up leaving my 9 to 5, which was really 9 to 8, but until I could take my business on full time. It was a side hustle. So I didn't leave until I was able to make enough money on that side, because I didn't want to, put myself in a bad position. So one of like the beginning stages of being self-funded, I obviously didn't have a ton of money to play with. So I needed to figure out how to draft contracts and do all that legal stuff. I needed to brand myself. I had to do a lot of stuff to become an official agency, file for an LLC, get an accountant. So a lot of that I was really scrappy about. I had to Google. I drafted my own contracts by just kind of going off of templates that I found on Google. All of this was it was a challenge, but it was also a learning curve and a learning experience. And, I was also, if I didn't work, I didn't eat. So it just, I had to figure out everything for myself. And that was just a huge challenge for me, as opposed to being in this like safe space of a 9 to 5 where I had benefits. Oh, don't even get me on health insurance. I had to find my own health insurance. So there's a lot of challenges. When we started growing and I started hiring, that was a challenge because I didn't know how to hire people. I was like, oh, you want to work for me? Okay, that's great. And I didn't even look at their qualifications. I was just excited that somebody wanted to join my team. So a challenge is, I had to have steps to the interview to make sure that they were a good candidate for me and they were going to be a superstar staying long term, because I'm a startup and I can't afford taking on people who are going to be with me for a few weeks or a few months. So that was really important. And then training them, that was a challenge. You have to find a lot of patience with training new hires who know nothing. But all these challenges were learning experiences, and I keep growing from them, and it's just part of the journey, and you just have to, you have to accept them, learn from them, grow, and just keep going.
Exactly. I think like the most important is that you think first, then you take a decision, and then you really stick to the decision, because there will so many things coming up you haven't thought about it before, you haven't think about it before. So for me, like when I started my entrepreneurial journey, it was like the legal stuff. And in Germany, we have like a lot of bureaucracy. So there's so much paperwork we have to fill out. Then I have to take care of strategy, of course, like getting customers. Then we got a customers, and then I was like hiring 3 employees. So I really had to take care of them, of course. At the same time, you have to stick to strategy and do like operational stuff. So there were like so many things. come into you, but like the most important is that you taking breaks. Like, because like, I think it also like when we're in home office, and in Germany we have like kind of a light lockdown, so all are working from home and we're working like 24/7. It's really, really important that you just like, yeah, take the weekend off, like after maybe like 2 months of really working, because like at the beginning you love working for your business. And then you thinking over the strategy. And I think like I made the mistake first to be like more in the operational stuff, but strategy is really what is really important to grow your business, to keep clients, yeah, and to go forward, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that the challenges are just always like the biggest part and hurdle that people need to get through before they're able to be successful. And now our next question is that there seems to be a lot of misconceptions about the entrepreneurship world, which some of you have touched on, but we just want to know change in perspective of the entrepreneurship world from before you entered it to after.
So Hannah, can you repeat the last sentence? I didn't get that.
Yeah, of course. So there seems to be a lot of misconceptions about the entrepreneurial world, and we're just curious as to how your view of it changed from before you entered to now.
My view just changed in that way that you learn so much more, because like when I'm in university, or like whenever I was back in a full-time study, I was like in my business, I was learning like so much. And in comparison to be like in university, I would learn that in university like maybe in 1 year. So every single day you're solving problems, you have challenges, you learn something new, and you meet like so many exciting and motivational people. So it was just like really interesting. I was really surprised that there is like in the entrepreneurial world that there is so much energy, because you always like, and this is like the most important, when you build your network, like really stick to like-minded people, and who have also the same goals, and who really also take care about you, and that you push each other and push your other forward. And yeah, I really underestimated like the energy in the entrepreneurial world and the learning curve.
I can chime in. So I guess for me, the way that I will answer this is just by saying that I think that we present this picture of entrepreneurship, especially when it comes to women entrepreneurs, that is totally glamorized and just bullshit, to be frank. I know I'm not supposed to swear, but it is BS. You know, entrepreneurship is not the like glossy magazine version that you see. That's not the reality. That's truly 1 to 2% of our jobs, and I think all of us have touched on that. I think that that's really damaging for women, especially because then when we set out on these ventures and it doesn't go like we think it's supposed to, we think, do I not belong here? Am I not supposed to be doing this? Or, you know, why isn't it looking or feeling or playing out like I've read about with, you know, the CEO of Spanx, or these really, really glamorized that are out there. So I just want y'all to know that the behind the scenes is like so much hustle and grit and so much work. And I mean, that's actually the fun part and like the real journey of entrepreneurship. It is a roller coaster, but the highs are awesome enough to make up for the lows most of the time. And I don't know if y'all have seen this tweet from Lizzo, but she was like, hey, it takes 5 years to become an overnight success. You know, that's true. Okay. Like, especially when you're starting out with something. I think passion is really important. And I think not giving up and being persistent with your vision is really important. I just want all of y'all to know that when it comes to kind of how we perceive entrepreneurship, how it really is, and then the fact that overnight success is a myth. That's just not reality. You have to work for it, and it takes a long time, but that journey is really what is the most meaningful part of it.
And I just want to like step in quickly because what Bre said, it's so worth it. Like all your work and your power you put into at the end, it's so worth. Like, and like for me, and like in my city in Berlin, like just this like entrepreneurship, like also in America, it's just like a big hive. You're an entrepreneur, you're so cool. Like, you know, everyone would want to jump on this train. Everyone wants to be a founder. But like, of course, like every one of you should experience that way because you learn so much and you can fulfill your dreams, and you're not in the hamster wheel. But like think first if like, you know, because it's, as Bre was saying, this is like the real world that you have that you really have to hustle. And then you, after 5 years, you are hopefully an overnight success.
Exactly. And I'll also add on that, I mean, the reality of my job is that I'm failing and getting rejected every day. Like, that's what we're talking about. Like, failure is part of the journey. So also this myth that like it's supposed to just be like, ooh, like it's so perfect and you just figure it out. Like, that's not true either. Like, a big part of this job is embracing failure because that's what leads you to success. So don't think that you need to go through it perfectly. You're not going to, and none of us have. But failure is just as important as success, and no one is successful without failing first.
No, absolutely. And it's kind of funny, when I first started my business and I was still in PR, I had this vision that I was going to be on vacation all the time and work minimal hours. And have this like really glamorous life. I'm like, I'm getting out of the 9 to 5, like life is good. And it is actually the opposite now because I have a team on the East Coast and West Coast. So now I'm just awake at 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My clients don't understand what weekends are, so I don't have those either. So it's just going into it, you think that it's just this beautiful picture of a perfect life and a lot of money, and unfortunately that isn't the case. And like I said, back, you know, in PR, I had that steady paycheck. I wasn't going anywhere. But now it's like I have to work to live. I have to work to pay for my home and to eat and to live, really. So it's not, you know, and everybody's journey is different. You know, all three of us, I'm sure it took different amounts of time to get where we are, and there's no finish line either. You keep going. You know, you're never like, okay, I made it. No, there's never an end point, and you need to keep that in mind and keep striving and working towards your goals and have new goals every year.
That's a really great point, Samantha, on, yeah, we think about it. We think about a lot of our lives as like a destination, whether that's a salary, a job title, making your business, raising a round of funding, whatever goal you have. And, you know, it's really important that we all define success for ourselves because it really is about the journey. There is no destination. And as soon as you achieve that thing, you'll have your eyes set on the next. So you really have to love what you do and have a purpose behind it.
For those answers and for the discussion. Those were all very insightful on the challenges that you guys have faced. But before we end, or before we open up to open questions from our participants, I'd like to end on a positive note. So, where do you see yourself in the future? You know, whether that's for your business or other projects you would like to take on.
Well, I can kick that one off. So I'm really excited about the future, and that's one of my favorite parts of my job. We are in the middle of raising $500,000 in funding, and that has been the journey of my life. So what I see in the future is us having closed this round, which means we've officially done it, which we're in the middle of right now, and then making our first 4 full-time hires for the company, which will include myself, because little known part of the job is that when you're bootstrapping, you're often not paying yourself. So this is really big for us, not just for, you know, me and personal milestones, but obviously for the future of the company and the growth that we're going to be able to achieve. And we've got 50 emerging women-owned brands on our platform right now. So when I think of the future, I see hundreds of brands. I see a team at RGG and a culture that I'm really, really proud of. And I see more and more women-owned businesses that we are helping to fuel the growth of.
And then for me, it's funny because looking back, when I was in a corporate agency office job, I had no idea I was going to be a business owner. Like, it didn't even dawn on me. So now it's like, I don't even know what the future will hold. You know, it's just, you never know who you're going to grab coffee with or who's going to have a new business idea. I'm always open to new business ventures. You know, I want to stay active and busy, and I want to constantly evolve and grow. So of course I want Zink Talent to grow and take over the world and be a huge change. And I want to be a global agency. But I'm also just open to whatever life throws at me. And I'm just always excited. And, you know, network as much as possible. All of you guys, like, take those coffee dates and Zoom meetings. And because you never know who you're going to meet and who's going to bring you an opportunity that can change your life. I'm excited for the future.
Yeah, the future is a secret, right? Amazing goals. Yeah, I want to like push the green revolution forward. Also to like set up production halls in America, like across Europe. I want to be like Forbes 30 under 30, and I like this is like my also like one of my biggest goals is to open up a green fund of 500 millions to invest like in green technology companies, startups. Yeah, to prepare the future for the generation, for the next generations, and push like female empowerment thought yeah, across countries, and to empower like and motivate more women to get female positions, leadership positions, to get into the startup world, to do something great. And yeah, that's a lot, but I just love that. And life is a journey, right?
Okay, we have a few questions in the chat, so I'm gonna go through and read them. So the first one is, how do you make connections in business and interning? So that networking.
My answer is just do it. I know I worked at Nike, so that's ironic, but seriously, just do it. Just reach out to people. Go on LinkedIn, find relevant people and send them a message, you know, send an email. That is truly how I started to build my network at the very beginning of my career. And I still really have that same philosophy now. Like, if you want to meet someone and you think that, you know, it'd be fun to get a coffee with them or do a Zoom, just ask them. More often than not, the answer is going to be yes. And you just kind of start making those connections. And my advice, especially as you're starting out, is to really be open to all of those connections. Always follow up on them, because you truly never know when one connection is going to lead to another, which could be, you know, the next big opportunity for you.
I mean, like all the leaders, they love to share knowledge. I mean, like everyone does, right? Support each other, and also, as Bre said, like hit people up on LinkedIn. Really go through their CV and like write why you want to have a chat with this person, because like now in the age, like everyone is getting so many spammy messages. But if you like put arguments into your message, they will connect with you. Well, Samantha, you wanted to go first, so I just want to leave you to.
I was going to say that, you know, I was really shy, and I still am shy. So reaching out to people, I felt really uncomfy, even though as in PR for my job, I had to network all the time. But I felt like really uncomfy to reach out, you know, over email and ask somebody for coffee or to pick their brain about something. But I wish I went back and I did it a lot more. And I just wish I had gained that confidence because it's okay. We're all, you know, we all feel like a little bit uncomfortable reaching out and asking a very busy person to meet up with us. But like these girls are saying, just do it. You know, get yourself out there, go to as many networking events as possible. Those are more Zoom focused now, and that's okay. But ask those questions, meet with those people. If you see a business owner that inspires you on Instagram, DM them, reach out to them. I answer all DMs. You know, a lot of potential clients or interns will DM me, and I answer right away because, you know, we were all inspired. And if we weren't, we want to inspire you. And other business owners feel the same. So just keep networking, put yourself out there. And you never know what one connection could lead to. Could be your next job or somebody founding a business with you. So definitely, it's okay to be uncomfy and just do it.
Made a good point, Samantha. I mean, also like, because like at the beginning, I was also scared to network with people, but then I'm always like putting the thought in my mind, like, what is the worst, you know, can happen? And this is like getting a no. But like the best thing is that you're getting a nice connection. Maybe this person knows another person. So, you know, I mean, like just good things can happen to you if you're putting yourself out there and if you meet people, right? Or like ask your friends if they're having like connections. But I think the best way to get like out of your bubble is really connect with people through LinkedIn and Instagram.
Okay, the next question I have is, it's advice for applying to internships, but it's more focused on the writing components, such as the personal statement, and they had a why this internship type essay.
I think that would really depend on the job, probably. So I think it would be hard to do like a blanket answer for that one. But I guess my advice would just be, look, tailor it to the job and really reflect on why are you passionate about applying, and then just be authentic and be yourself.
And why you want to give value to that business. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to change? Maybe you have like nice ideas when you see like this company maybe on their social media. Just like throw ideas in to really stand out from the crowd.
Absolutely. And I have a writing component in my interviews with new interns. And I just have to, I can't express enough to double check the whole thing, your spelling, grammar, all of that good stuff. Because if you just write it and send it, you know, and there's a ton of spelling errors, that stands out to us. Make sure that you research the company, research the CEO, research their clients, just know what you're talking about.
Okay, I want to say a message to my participants. You are allowed to turn your mic on and ask them questions yourself as well, 'cause I'm getting a lot of direct messages for questions and whatnot. But I'll read one that I just got, and this is specifically for Samantha. Someone asked, what celebrities or influencers have you met?
So a ton. I mean, even living in New York City, you would. Now I'm in LA, so it's the same thing. But Olivia Culpo, Tom Brady, John Legend, Sarah Jessica Parker, Future the rapper. The list goes on. And honestly, they're all very, very sweet in person, which you don't think about a celebrity, but when you're working with them, they're all very humble and overall good people. So.
I just saw someone raise their hand.
Yes, I think it was Kelsey.
I didn't know that we were allowed to talk, so I just sent it in chat, but I'm really interested in investing. So do you have any advice for investing, or did you feel intimidated because you were a woman? How did you get past that? Did you feel intimidated because of your age? Anything like that? And that's for everyone.
I can start. So I'm huge into investing, and there's so many different things that you can invest in. And I think this really sparked my interest when I became an entrepreneur, and I learned that there was a lot more ways to make money than just an office job. So I wanted to you just find out. I was very curious. YouTube has helped me a lot. Just YouTube investing. There's day trading, long-term investments. You can, houses. But at the end of the day, you do need money to start with. But it's okay if it's a little. You can invest with a little bit. So what I did in the beginning is I would take part of my paycheck and I would save it. And then I would invest that savings long term. So then, it doubles, it triples. And of course, with COVID, a lot of the stocks went down. So it is a high risk with your money. But if you're ever interested in learning more, you can always email or DM me, and I'm happy to hop on a call or Zoom with you and chat about it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm investing in ETFs like most of the time, which is like yeah, a lot of stocks put together. And there I'm like using an app, but I think it's just a European company. It's called Trade Republic. I don't know if they are already in America, but this startup, the company is really growing. Yeah, I started like small, but every single month I put money on the side and just even invested in ETFs. And as also like Samantha said, hold it like for a long time. Because it's like also what Warren Buffett was doing, right? And now he's like, I don't know how old he is, over 70, I don't know. But now he has a lot of money because he was using like the strategy, like hold it for 20 years, 30 years. But always like think first, if you really need the money, like after 2 months, because then it's a pity when you take it out.
Well, first of all, I'll say, Kelsey, I think it's so cool that you asked a question about investing, because that is not something I was thinking about at your age. So kudos to you. I also think that investing is such a powerful and important way for women to be economically empowered and take control of their finances. I was going to talk about kind of a different way of this, since I think Miriam and Samantha did a great job of talking about how they're investing. So something else y'all can be kind of aware of is, when I was working at Nike, I actually got stock in Nike when I was working there as well. So I would put part of my paycheck every single week into stock there as an employee. And then when I left the company, I got to take that stock with me. So that's something else you can think about as, you're starting out in your careers and you're looking at different places to work. I imagine a lot of you might be interested in startups or just other exciting companies in that space. And so you can definitely think about stock as an option wherever you're working a lot of the time. Yeah. And then for me personally, I don't do a ton of investing right now because, to be honest, you do need some flexible capital to be able to do that. And right now I'm just focused on funding my startup. But I do think one resource I really love that's based here in Austin is called Bravely Go. She's a friend of mine and talks all about kind of demystifying investing for women. So I think there are a lot of really great resources out there for you to dive into.
Thank you for all the great questions. It is coming. It's almost 12:30 now, so we will have to end soon, but we will be sending out everyone's contact information towards the end of the conference. So if you have any more questions for the speakers, you can go ahead and reach directly out to them. What we will do now is we will take a group photo. So if you were comfortable with sharing or turning on your video, that would be great. And Elena, would you like to take your photo now?
Of course. Okay, so we're gonna take the photo on 3. So 3, 2. Oh, someone's loading in. I see someone walking, I think. So 3, 2, 1. Oh,